like to call the meeting to order, the 208th meeting of the Equal Employment Practices Commission. All in agreement?
Yes. Agreed.
Okay, approval of minutes.
I vote to approve the minutes of the February 16, 2017 meeting.
A second.
Thank you. All agree?
Aye.
Okay. The audit status report. The agency is currently being audited. Do I have to read out all of these people?
No.
Okay.
All of the, there are about, I would say about 30 agencies currently being audited.
So we will make our quota again this year.
Yeah.
I'm going to say yes.
Yes, yes.
You can say yes.
Yes.
Subject to their.
Some of them are community boards, and some have already. We've already found that they have no no issues, no corrective actions. So that's good. But they're small agencies, so we'll be voting on some of those today. Okay. But the issue, that you have to talk about is in the compliance, not the audits. Okay, so currently what I'm going to say about audits is just that we have about 30 agencies being audited. They're all listed here. We read them last meeting. They're still ongoing, and we're voting on some of them today. So no issues so far.
No issues, good. Okay. Then the report on status of compliance monitoring. The agency completed compliance 216 audit plan, and I'm going to vote.
Well, I'll let you know about these agencies. These are 3 agencies that were remaining from the 2016 audit plan. This is LaGuardia Community College, and their monitoring period just ended in February. LaGuardia Community College, the City Commission on Human Rights, and the Office of the Actuary. I do want to call your attention to a situation with the Office of the Actuary, which is that the Office of the Actuary is a relatively small agency with around 36 employees, and their EEO officer is preparing to retire, their previous EEO officer, and so the agency appointed their general counsel as the EEO officer. That is not looked at, that's viewed as problematic. The general counsel as EEO officer, because the EEO officer should be available to the employees to hear what is happening and to attempt to resolve or investigate impartially anything that is brought to their attention. The general counsel's role is to defend the agency when there is litigation, and so to have the EEO officer and general counsel as the same person is considered problematic. So we spoke with the general counsel of the Office of the Actuary yesterday, and he let us know that they had looked into this with the chief actuary, that this is intended to be interim, and on my recommendation he consulted the law department. So the law department on this issue, and the law department stated that considering the size and structure of the office, it is acceptable for an agency general counsel to concurrently serve on an interim basis with safeguards as an EEO officer. From the law department, they did state that while the EEO policy, the city's policy, does not absolutely prohibit such an arrangement, the policy and the law department strongly discourage it. Okay. Nonetheless, well, the safeguards that they direct are provision that the general counsel consult with the citywide EEO and request a third-party investigation if there's a concern that the role as general counsel and EEO officer are in conflict, and that every effort should be made to select a permanent EEO officer as soon as possible. So,
in light of that,
the question, we can proceed based on the statement of the law department to consider the agency in compliance, or we can hold compliance open until the agency has appointed an EEO officer.
I vote for considering them in compliance.
I agree.
Okay with me too.
And there, I mean, in previous reports, they haven't had problems generally, right? I mean, if they had sort of chronic issues, then maybe it would be perhaps more
If it
necessary.
was a fire department, I'd rule differently.
Yeah, they have not had chronic issues, so, okay.
I think they'll honor
Yeah.
interim. It's just a matter of, I assume within 36 employees, finding someone who's willing to be the EOC officer and finding someone that they can appoint to do it. So should there be a
Should be a
complaint, the
problem.
independent investigation would be done by a third party. So I don't see that as a problem.
Yeah,
Okay,
I agree.
so then I present those,
So-
the Office of the Actuary and the other, the
Well, I
City
move that
Commission
we
on
accept
Human Rights and
The
LaGuardia.
resolution 2016 AP/469C-35, resolution 2016 AP/2226C-36, and 26 AP/008C-37. That we accept them as completing compliance and approval.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we have voted.
Okay, the next, the agency's completed compliance, 217 audit plan, 6 vote. Should I go through the resolutions?
Is there any discussion on any of the community
Yeah.
boards that we should know about?
I don't see any. Are there any?
Is there any discussion on the community boards that we should know about?
Yes, well, basically, I just wanted to let you know that after audit, these community boards have been in full compliance with the standards, the minimum standards that we have for community boards. And so they have no corrective action and no monitoring was required.
Sounds terrific.
All in agreement?
Great, thanks.
Aye.
Aye. So we have just approved 2017/431C-01, 432C-02, 435C-03, 436C-04, 438C-05, and 440C-06. They've all been approved. Yay.
All in agreement?
Yes.
So, I've asked Patrick to briefly discuss his enhancement to some research that we had previously done about on the topic of occupational segregation. You wanna go into a few hypotheses that we may be looking at, or you just wanna?
Sure. I don't really know to what extent you're familiar with the early internal analysis or early research that we did on occupational segregation, but in the context of equal employment and the wage gap, people often overlook the occupational segregation. It's focused on, Executive Order 21 is focused on equal pay for equal work. Yet occupational segregation actually makes up 30 to 50% of the wage gap, and people simply don't acknowledge it. And as an equal employment monitoring agency, to look at occupational segregation allows us to more effectively audit and provide recommendations to agencies. So, looking at what we have and the data that we have, we've put together approximately 10 hypotheses that we can look into with the information that we have that allows us to, that are based on the audit standards. And so I can go through some of the hypotheses just at a high level, and then you can have an opportunity to ask questions later or whatever you'd like. But
You should go into it in detail.
no, just okay. So the hypotheses range from anything from occupational segregation's relationship to promotion and separation rates. Does the occupational segregation of an agency contribute to discontent or separations, departures, lack of promotions, to something more systemic with the, yes?
Can you give me an example, just so I can see it, of what you're talking about with occupational segregation? You're not talking about lawyers.
No, no.
So what are you talking about?
Talking about occupational segregation being the division of labor within an organization in which either genders or ethnicities are channeled into different types of titles or roles or jobs. And this channeling really can damage the efficiency of the agency, and that people aren't going into positions that they could be very successful in. Also, it contributes to the wage gap if different groups are being channeled into different types of occupations that have different compensations and different barriers. So there are various ways of measuring occupational segregation using the data. The one that we've looked at primarily is a dissimilarity index, which basically shows how different the workforces are in terms of demographic makeup. So, for example, I don't have the precise figures, but the abnormally high percentage of female secretaries versus the abnormally high percentage of male engineers. Hypothetically, I don't have the specific numbers, but you can see that different genders are being slotted into different types of roles, and whether it be because of employment barriers or because of simple personal preference, understanding that a little bit more is very valuable, because a lot of the things that we're looking at include underutilization and adverse impact. An adverse impact analysis wouldn't really show occupational segregation. And if we want to look at a barrier that affects the wage gap, you really can't just look at the issue from a equal pay for equal work. You need to look at it from the perspective of groups of people are being put in different roles that simply pay more. And it's important to recognize that, because it's just a different way to approach the problem and to get agencies to comply with the standards that we have. But, I'm sorry, it's long-winded. Did that answer your question?
Actually, it did, coupled with, Cherie sent over the proposal, and then there were two pieces in there looking at painters versus secretaries, and looking at uniform versus non-uniform, which I believe we have appreciated as being an issue as well.
Yes.
Long appreciated.
Exactly. I mean, there's some very interesting phenomena at the formally classified physically taxing titles, which have like early retirement potential. One of the hypotheses is, do we see occupational segregation? These physically taxing titles, are they overwhelmingly male? Because that is the early retirement for a physically taxing title is a very attractive benefit. And if women are not being channeled into a physically taxing title for a reason other than you know, their ability, then that's an issue, because the people in that title are getting a benefit that other groups aren't getting.
Right.
So, but if there's a job, say elevator mechanic, considered a physically taxing title, overwhelmingly male, which I don't have data on, I'm just speculating that that's potential. Why is that? Are there job requirements, are there criteria, are there recruiting practices that exclude various groups from being an elevator mechanic? Maybe there are. I don't know, but it's something that we can look at, because we're asking agencies to look at their employment practices, their selection criteria, to see, is it fair, is it equal for all groups?
Do you analyze age cohorts?
I haven't
Well, it's
included
like
that.
that, right, it's because it's like, you may have, men coming in from previous generations, I don't know how to phrase that, but it's like, some occupations may be more gender segregated historically, but slowly, maybe women might be waking, or vice versa.
Yeah, it is, I mean, it is changing. There are, and specifically at the higher levels of education, you see the wage gap across the board shrinking. But in some of the
You did use the word culture, and I think that's a piece of it as you're dealing with a younger group, the cultural issues change.
okay, all right.
So, in realizing, in the interest of time, and we can talk about this forever, but I just asked them to kind of hone in on what we plan to do with the results of, you know, this study when we're done with it.
So this research can result in an occupational segregation report, a document, which is, you know, it's something very valuable. It's actually been called for in the past and not necessarily picked up on. The public advocate has mentioned this, and the comptroller has mentioned this, but no formal analysis has been done on occupational segregation. So that's something that would be very valuable, either publishing for the Commission, DCAS, the Civil Service Commission, Public Advocate, Comptroller, Commission on Gender Equity, and City Council. We can assist the analysts within the agency in ways to look at their audits in a different way, potentially seeing problems in the workforce that are not necessarily adverse impact, but could be occupational segregation. If agencies look at desegregating their workforce, it could be extraordinarily helpful in many ways.
Yeah, it can affect our, like we spoke briefly about how it can affect the recommendations that we make around certain issues, whether or not you're leveraging talent or you're going outside, really makes a difference.
What if you did a draft report and used it as a background for public discussion?
Well, that's one of the.
And in doing the public discussion, invite the people who've already asked for it. So individuals from the controller, individuals from the public advocate, as well as your normal EOC and HR audience, and people from the city council. Because what you're doing is just using it for a dialogue as opposed to any findings, so that your research has shown these as issues. There are no findings as to these issues, but this is a snapshot of what currently is. There are probably lots of different ways to cure it. Some of that may have no way of curing it. But an open discussion about the issues from different perspectives, because I suspect we each, even among the four of us here, would have different perspectives looking at it. And it's a way of not only looking at the economic disparity that it leads to, but the other part of it is looking at how it limits productivity on the employee base. So to the extent that I think I'm in a safe but low-end job, I can stay there until I retire with having no great prospects of either earning more or having someone really challenge me. So it's really looking at it from the employee's side as opposed to the employer. It's really a limitation on what the employee can expect from the employment, as well as what the employer can expect from the employee. So it's, if we really are going to have to be lean and mean, which may happen with the reduction of funding coming from the federal government, then it's really a way of how do we become lean and mean, but have everybody operate at their best and to the best of their ability. So it is a dialogue that is broader, I think, than just gender discrimination.
Yeah, can we just, I really want you to finish.
Yes,
I'm sorry.
Because you touched
to go
on
into
it.
detail, but right, the EPC conference that was held last year in the same vein by bringing people together to discuss this in a forum with experts, providing a report for people to understand, getting the word out there about the importance of this, like with respect to productivity, with respect to the wage gap. That sort of forum would be perfect. Perhaps an advisory board, putting an advisory board together that looks into this. So
That could be a result from flowing from it.
right.
Right.
So there are a number of things that could come out of it that should be included in like an equal employment movement, facilitating discussions about succession planning and the impact of that in talent management, like resulting from a discussion like this. If you've got a workforce that is segregated, if you can look at your internal talent, find the people in different areas that complete your workforce in the most effective way, then that is then we've done our job. So, and finally, a white paper for publication on the EPC website, I think would be very valuable. I think that it's essentially a research report with a great deal of other implications down the road.
Do you do it before and after?
Before
Do you
and
do a
after.
white paper as provocative for the discussion, and then do a white paper after the discussion, so that you have some next steps? I just looking at it as a draft, you start with a draft of a proposal for the dialogue, and after the dialogue, you finish a final report.
Right, we can incorporate the hearing, or I don't want to call it a hearing, conference, I guess.
Discussion.
Discussion right into the final paper that can be published.
Yeah.
So.
No, I'm just looking at it as a two-step, so you get two bites at the apple,
Mhm.
and you begin the dialogue. That also, to the extent that you've got the white paper and it's clear what you're talking about, that also is an attraction for people to attend, because
Right.
it's
Learning about those agencies that are very successful and very low occupational segregation, getting their perspective and putting that towards the end of a research paper allows other agencies to see, oh, well, this agency is doing this and they're very successful.
Tell me which ones you find.
True.
Yeah, we'll have to discuss how to go
I'm
about
very
it.
cynical.
I'm not gonna go
I'm
there.
very cynical.
Yeah.
I apologize for being so cynical.
No, but that's not that.
But this is gonna take a while, so this is a proposal.
For 2018?
And I don't think so, I think we can do this
Well, I
maybe
mean,
like the fall.
Well, with the two steps, so you think you can finalize the report by the fall, but when do you think, you getting the dialogue together, and it's a dialogue, when it takes 3
Yeah,
to
that
4
maybe
months.
2018.
So I'm looking at January, February of 2018
Yeah,
as being a realistic
perhaps.
schedule.
Well, I think, you write the report,
Yeah,
get close
we'll-
to it, and then we'll talk about a release in the event and, how you wanna disseminate something like this.
Right.
I mean, this topic alone can be a conference.
Yes.
It can, there's enough people out there, enough researchers out there, enough professionals out there that you could have entire forums and panels and discussions and, like, the sky's the limit on something like this.
For purposes of our discussion, we have had a presentation by a dissident group from the fire department. And so you really need to be, I think, somewhat careful about how you offer, how you put together the discussion group, because what you don't want it to be is an area where people are just crying, and that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about how do we go from here to there in the most affirmative way, rather than listening to a lot of dissidents complain.
Right.
So that, how you position it and posture it will make a difference.
Yeah, and we'll all have input in it, so we won't surprise you guys.
I don't know, you always do.
So, annual report. Did you, guys have any feedback, or? 'cause they
Publish
did-
it.
Okay.
That's my feedback.
Great.
Thank you very much for all of
Anything
your
else?
hard work.
Yes, a lot of stuff
I think
going
we
on.
thanked you.
50 days.
I think the
Wow.
commissioner's statement thanks you for your hard work and thanks your staff for your hard work. And it is all heartfelt from all four of us, I am sure.
Yes, did you guys look over the commissioner's statement?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Yes. I
Yeah.
remember I got some.
Arva
feedback.
even had a comment.
Yeah, I
on it.
remember, but I just wanted to make sure that nobody else had some feedback. So, okay, fine, we'll get a look today.
Yay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Are we officially adjourned?
I move to adjourn. I move
yes.
to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Thank you.
We're gone.
Thank you.